Okay, guys, thanks for your questions. Recently, I had a question about practice routine, and I just wanted to give it to you in a nutshell. My approach to practice. It may help you. I don't know. It may not work for you. Everybody's different. But for me, what worked was simply I try to focus on things that I know I cannot do yet. So what I always start with, though, just to get myself in the frame of mind and ready, is warming up by stretching. So, I do various stretching exercises. You have to be very careful not to do something too hard, but that's one of my stretching exercises, and then individual finger stretching. Anyway, that stuff is beside the point. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. So what I always start with is chord scale arpeggios, and I try to do this in a key I am not familiar with. So I am most definitely not familiar with G flat major, and the relative minor of G flat major is E flat minor. So what I would do is just test that I know where G flat is on the neck, ground myself, okay, get myself grounded so I know which areas of the neck that I am going to start from, and then I would start off by playing through the root scale. And then after that I would start playing the arpeggios. And just go up and down the arpeggios like that, and just test myself. Like I nearly played the wrong arpeggio there because I'm still not familiar with it. And then I would try and do the same from this position. And then I play arpeggios. Oh, wrong one. See? So that's why I need to practice it, because there are things that I'm doing wrong there. So that's the first thing. Then once I've got myself familiar with that, and also I would do it each scale. There are 3 ways of playing each scale. So I would do each way. So that my fingers know where to go 3 different ways. And I would also do my arpeggios that way as well, because it just makes sense. Ah, I see, okay. Now I'm up to here, it's the same. Yeah. So through doing that, I reaffirm my knowledge of the fretboard, and I get to identify where my weaknesses are so that I can work on them. Once I've done that, I make a loop. I made this loop for G flat major. Actually, what I'll do is I'll do it live now for you, so you can. So here I have a beat going on my looper, and then I'll just record a very, very simple chord progression in my chosen key. So I think what I'll do is I'll do from major to relative minor. 1, 2, 4, in, 2, 3, and. And then after that I'll put down a bass line. have a loop that I can practice over. So then what I'll do is I'll just have a go at improvising. Take my bass whichever way I want to. And maybe so I'll do that maybe for ages, good 20 minutes, half an hour, just blowing over the and I'll try and link the arpeggios together as well. Like here I'm getting a little bit lost. It's like, whoops, what am I doing? So when I find I'm getting lost, it's like, what did I do wrong? I try and analyze it. So I was trying to play a D flat major over it. Actually, it's not that works. It just means I'm playing Lydian. I'm playing a sharp 5. It still works, but really in the chord scale it would be a D flat dominant 7. And there I can find out from there. I use a lot of diminished and augmented connecting notes as well, but that's something that you can look at later when you get more familiar with your scales and patterns, if you're not already familiar with them. But anyway, so that's how I practice improvisation. So if you haven't already got a good looper, I would recommend you get a good looper. So what have I talked about so far? I talked about practicing techniques that you're not familiar with, warming up, and improvising over a key you're not familiar with. Okay, so those are a couple of things. Another thing I like to practice is timing. So I might just put on a click and practice a new technique. Like I'm trying to get better at my I want to get more fluid with this kind of guitar plucking style technique. So what I might do is I could use the same beat that I was just using, and I might just improvise a groove. That's a very unimaginative groove because it's what I always do, and something I want to try and do is get away from doing stuff I always do. So one thing I might try and do is try to reverse some of my thinking, like basically just rephrasing it so that some of the notes are coming out in the reverse order of what I did before. And it gives me a slightly different slant, because there's nothing I hate more than feeling stuck or feeling like I'm always playing the same stuff. And then also just playing, just trying to practice evenness of attack and tone. This can get a bit boring, but another good thing to do when you do that is record yourself and just listen back and see, is one, timing accurate, is two, are you getting the evenness of tone that you want. If you're not, and you hear a discrepancy that you don't like, you can go back and try and fix it. So those are the kinds of things that I try to practice in terms of technique and just fretboard knowledge. Other things that I try to practice as well, let me stop the beat. Other things I try to practice are things like reading practice. So I try to spend a little bit of time on reading every day, but I might point out to you that writing music is also helping you to practice reading. So if you have ideas or licks you like, write them out. Write them in notation, write them in tablature too, so that you know both. Because you can reverse that, and surely it'll help your reading. So that's one point. Another point is practice reading in dead time. For example, when I travel on the train, when I take a dump. Excuse me, but yeah, you know, people read the newspaper on the toilet. Why not take a manuscript in with you and go through it rhythmically and mentally? It can really help. Another thing, of course, is to just sit down and practice reading. Again, like I said before, I'm kind of a little bit of a lazy type, so I tend not to sit down and practice reading anywhere near enough. But what I suggest is get a piece that interests you. Get a piece which challenges not only your technique and reading skills, so that you can develop two skills at once. For example, I learned that's Freedom Jazz Dance. That's one thing that I learned by reading. So what I did was I just sat there and I just analyzed it. I can't sight read it. I mean, it's too fast to sight read on demand, but it's certainly something you can learn, and it certainly helped me to really think about the fretboard and think about the stave, the musical stave. So I suggest getting something that is challenging to you, something that you're going to learn from and enjoy doing, and read that. There's no point really sitting there and reading through scales. That is boring as hell. Or reading through arpeggios, because reading through arpeggios helps, but when you read real music, you're going to find so many of those arpeggios are in there anyway, and you can go, oh, that's such and such an arpeggio, and you start to recognize little patterns like that. So yeah, I think there is no shortcut to becoming good at reading. You do have to put in the work, but you don't have to drive yourself too hard. It's not like you have to sit in front of a piece of music for hours every day and slog it out. Like I said, you can use dead time to practice reading as well. So that's basically it. That's my practice routine. every day involves warming up, doing some scales and arpeggios in a key I'm not familiar with, laying down a loop in that key, playing freely over it, identifying weaknesses and trying to fix them. After that, I will try and practice a technique that I am working on, something that I cannot do yet, and I'll focus on that for maybe 10-15 minutes to get the mechanics, and then I'll leave that to autopilot practice in front of the TV at some point later. But I do these things on a daily basis, though. And then I would do some maybe just sound and timing practice using a beat, and just analyze my own playing. And then perhaps some reading practice on something that is challenging and enjoyable to learn and is going to teach me things as well as build my reading skills. And another thing I have to do is score out parts. So when I score out parts, I am writing music that also helps me to read music. So same goes for anybody. So that's it. And let me just tell you, today I am playing this beauty. This is a Bacchus 24 handmade in Japan. This is from the top range of the Bacchus Handmade DX. Construction-wise, it is quite simple. Two-piece light ash body and a one-piece maple neck with ebony fretboard, 24 frets, 34-inch scale. But this has a Bartolini preamp in it, and it has coil taps, so you can have humbucking or you can have jazz format. It's got beautiful sound, as you just heard. There's a lot of tonal variety on this thing. So if you're interested in these basses at all, you can find out a lot more about them at my website. I have many of these on sale. Basically I'm a foreign sales contact on behalf of Devisor, and I also endorse their Bacchus range. So what you can do is, if you want to find out more, you can go to my website, or you can just send me a message directly, and I'll help you as much as I can. Basically, I have access to the whole range, and I offer some of the best prices on the web. So plus fast shipping services, fully insured. So yeah, just give me a holler if you're interested, and thanks again as always for watching. Take care.